Falls. It's 8 o'clock.
Good morning. This is Northern Light for Friday, April 12th. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe.
A nursing home in North Creek in the lower Adirondacks has filed paperwork to allow it to close due to financial strain.
Closure is not a concrete thing. It's an awful possibility if we don't have the budgets to be able to continue on running our facility.
The big issue is how the nursing home is reimbursed through Medicaid. That's one of the sticking points in why the legislature and the governor are 10 days late on passing a state spending plan. Another issue, tenants' rights and a proposal called good cause evictions.
Good cause is nothing more than a direct attack on private property rights in this state.
Also, John Warren checks the trail conditions in the Adirondacks this weekend. And the spring snowmelt in the Adirondacks creates powerful roaring waterfalls. Emily Russell hiked to Auger Falls in southern Hamilton County. All that's coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us.
Broadcast of Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio is supported by CCOM Credit Union, serving the financial needs of people throughout northern New York and northwestern Vermont in person, online at ccom.org, and on your smartphone. And by the Depot Theater in Westport, inviting all to take a journey without leaving the station. Learn more at depottheater.org. And with a gift from you right now, it's our spring fundraiser. Here to tell us more is Emily Russell.
Yeah, it's been going really great. We've heard from so many of you this morning who've gone to ncpr.org/give. Thanks to Emily McKernan in Dickinson Center, David Coleman in Watertown, Susan Kerwin in Potsdam, who said she can't imagine life without NCPR, and Karen Gulo of Clayton, who said, I appreciate NCPR every single day. That really matters to us, and it's why we do the work we do here at North Country Public Radio. It's why we bring you local news every single weekday morning, and it really does inspire us, and you play a key role in making that happen. ncpr.org/give, or pick up the phone. We've got folks who are waiting to take your calls this morning. Here's the number, 877-388-6277. Now, before we get to Northern Light and all this great local news that you're about to hear, I just want to, give folks a sense of how this show is put together. So the newsroom, meets every day of the week, and we really talk about the news, what's happening in our region every day, and we pitch stories. And we hear from listeners. We get emails from folks who say, here's what's happening in my community. Here's why it matters. We'd really love you to cover this because it's important to what's happening to our local town, our local economy. And that's what happened with this story you're about to hear from Amy Feiereisel. We got a number of different emails and tips about this nursing home in North Creek. And those tips just came in within the last day or two. And yesterday morning, Amy got to work and she started calling folks, and she called a local state assembly member, and she got all those voices that you're about to hear, and she put it together in a day so that you can hear this urgent news and these voices from North Creek and that region to really get a sense of what's going on in that community. And this is the kind of news and information that you rely on from North Country Public Radio. It's the kind of hard work that we put into making a great and informative show every weekday morning here on Northern Light. You listen every morning. I know you know it's valuable information, and you can rely on us for factual information, the news you get here at North Country Public Radio every single morning. ncpr.org/give to keep that news coming, to sustain this radio station. Become a member. Give $10, $20 a month, or whatever you can. Every amount matters. ncpr.org/give. Again, you can also pick up the phone this morning, 877-388-6277. We've also heard from Sarah Daniels in Watertown, who said, thanks for all the local issues you address and for all the great programs you offer. and Marjorie Cochran in Saranac Lake, who said, "We've had our radios set to NCPR forever." So join your neighbors now. Go to ncpr.org/give and keep this radio station strong. Thanks.
This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe. A nursing home in North Creek in the southern Adirondacks is teetering on the brink of closure. Elderwood at North Creek has 82 beds. The nursing facility is in serious financial trouble. Amy Feyereisel reports.
Elderwood at North Creek is a skilled nursing facility that's been open since 1974. Last month, because of financial difficulties, the facility filed paperwork with the state that would allow it to close.
Over 100 people would lose their jobs, and then we would also have this big building empty. It would be a crushing blow.
Judy Stafford lives in North Creek, just half a mile from Elderwood. Her mother has been there for the last 4 years.
So I feel very secure having my mother there. She's 95, and right now she has dementia.
Stafford's mother was a math teacher for the Minerva Central School District and has lived in the southern Adirondacks all her life.
And if Elderwood closed, I don't know where she would go. There's nothing close by here. And I know that many of the facilities are already at maximum and you have to be on waiting lists. And to move her at this point in her life, I think would be devastating for my mother.
Elderwood has filed paperwork, but has not announced that it's closing. The CEO, Jeffrey Rubin, visited the facility on Wednesday and has spoken with local elected officials about wanting to keep it open. Republican Assemblyman Matt Simpson represents the 114th District, which includes Warren County.
The CEO is still working with New York State, on the process and with the intention of keeping the nursing home open. No one wants to see the nursing home close.
But Simpson says Elderwood and so many other nursing homes across the state are at a financial tipping point.
Our nursing homes are in a crisis right now. They've been in a crisis, and it's all tied directly to the Medicaid reimbursement rate.
Simpson is talking about what Medicaid pays facilities like Elderwood per day for the care of seniors. That rate has basically stayed the same between 2007 and 2022. That's made it harder and harder for facilities to run in the black and to pay staff enough to retain them, especially in central and northern New York facilities, which rely on Medicaid for around 3/4 of their funding. Simpson says that's why, last year, the New York legislature made a bipartisan push for a 20% increase in Medicaid reimbursement rates. They got 6%. That wasn't enough, says Simpson.
There are many nursing homes that were telling me last year or the year before that they were on the brink, running in deficits, and doing everything they can.
And some have closed. United Helpers Assisted Living Facility in Canton shuttered in February. It closed its Ogdensburg nursing home in 2021. Simpson says the Medicaid reimbursement rate needs to be changed to reflect current day prices.
That's just, everybody knows that everything has risen dramatically, especially in the last 2 or 3 years.
This year, the legislature is pushing for a 16% increase in the rate. That's in direct conflict with Governor Kathy Hochul's proposed cuts to Medicaid, and it's part of the delay in this year's budget. Simpson says on this issue, many Republicans and Democrats agree.
It's not a partisan issue. It's a bipartisan effort. Many of my colleagues have stood right there in press conferences with other colleagues on the other side of the aisle, and we're all focused on this.
In North Creek, Elderwood employs about 100 people in a town of 1,800. Erica Parker is a nursing assistant at the facility.
Closure is not a concrete thing. It's an awful possibility if we don't have the budgets to be able to continue on running our facility.
Parker has created a petition on change.org called Save Our Nursing Home, asking for the state's support. It's garnered over 700 signatures in the past few days. Parker says her job is really hard, but she wants to continue doing it.
It's a proud thing to be able to serve your community in the way that we do. And I take pride in working at Elderwood. I like the staff that I work with. I love the residents that I help support.
Judy Stafford says she feels that sense of family and care every time she visits her mother at Elderwood. She has her own health issues and says traveling hours to visit her mother would be really difficult.
There is no other option that's even within an hour drive of here. And how do you even move those people? I mean, who helps me with my mother? You know, how do I even move her to a new place? I can't even wrap my brain around it.
Back in February, Elderwood applied for a Vital Access Provider grant with the state's health department, which would provide funding to help the center to keep operating. It hasn't heard back on the grant yet. The New York legislature and the governor are still negotiating a budget, which might include an increase or a cut in Medicaid funding. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio.
As Amy said, Medicaid spending is a main sticking point holding up the passage of the state's spending plan for the next year. Another big issue is a deal on a housing package that would build new affordable housing and strengthen tenant protections. Karen DeWitt reports.
It's the second year in a row that Governor Kathy Hochul and the state legislature have tried to enact plans that would ease the state's affordable housing crisis. This year, a scaled-back proposal would offer grants to communities who agree to sign a pro-housing pledge. It would also revive a tax break for real estate developers who include affordable housing in their projects. The biggest sticking point, though, is over tenants' rights. Progressives in the legislature want to enact a proposal known as good cause eviction. It would prevent landlords from evicting tenants without a good reason, and it would cap rent increases at around 3%. Landlord groups are pushing back against the measure, though, saying it would further depress the long-term rental market. Senate Republican Minority Leader Robert Ort says the housing proposal does nothing for areas outside of New York City, and he predicts good cause eviction would be a disaster.
Which is essentially tenancy for life. And good cause is nothing more than a direct attack on private property rights in this state.
Even some Democrats in the legislature have been reluctant to vote on good cause. The measure died last year. Meanwhile, tenants' rights groups fear the measure will be watered down in any final housing agreement. Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins earlier in the week said there are a number of moving parts in the housing package. She says nothing has been decided yet.
We want to be able to build, and we want to be able to protect tenants. And so because there are so many elements to this housing package, short-term, long-term, there's so many stakeholders involved, to get a complete package with everyone seeing progress in what it is we are trying to achieve and actually attaining and achieving that progress is where we really need to land.
Senator Stewart-Cousins says she believes a housing package will come together, but she can't say when. In Albany, I'm Karen DeWitt for the New York Public News Network.
You're listening to Northern Light right here on North Country Public Radio. Monica Sandreski here with Todd Moe and our Adirondack reporter Emily Russell here to tell us a bit about the progress of the fundraiser and to make the pitch to you about why this important hard news coverage is so essential for our region. Hey, Em.
Yeah, it really is. And, that those stories, both from Amy and Karen, really reflect the work that's going into the show and just how well informed we're providing we're providing the service for our region. And, Amy, as I mentioned before her story, she turned that story in a day. And Karen as well, she works really incredibly hard down in Albany to make sure folks in the North Country are aware of what state lawmakers are doing, the work that they're doing to get this budget passed, the priorities that they're talking about with the governor every single day. She works hard. And you've been listening and you hear Karen most days here on North Country Public Radio, and it really is an important asset. And that ncpr.org/give to support great local news out of Albany. We've heard from folks all around the North Country this morning, from Queensbury to Beaver Falls, Saranac Lake, and Plattsburgh. Put your hometown on the map. We've heard from friends in Malone and Eagle Bay, Croghan, Clayton, and Potsdam. Now you be next. Become a sustaining member of North Country Public Radio. It's really easy. It takes just a couple minutes. ncpr.org/give or pick up the phone 877-388-6277.
You're listening to Northern Lights here on North Country Public Radio. It's 8:15. Good morning. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Coming up, John Warren checks the trail conditions for us this weekend. And we've got a preview of the upcoming Hill and Hollow music concert in Redford. That's in just a few minutes right here on Northern Light.
Kingston, Ontario listeners, one of your own. Music by David Archibald in Kingston. Love to hear from you. Make a gift. Kingston, Ontario. Put your town on the map with a gift at ncpr.org/give. Thanks so much. Northern Light is supported by Adirondack Foundation, connecting people, ideas, and resources to improve lives and expand opportunities throughout the Adirondack region. Details at adirondackfoundation.org. We've got clouds, occasional showers, mild temperatures, though, today, highs 60s, near 70, and winds out of the southeast, occasional gusts up to 40, 50 miles per hour. Cooler tomorrow with the chance of rain, highs in the 40s on Saturday.
One of two Democrats dropped out of the NY21 congressional district race yesterday. On X, formerly known as Twitter, Stephen Holden said he was unable to collect enough voter signatures to be on the ballot. That means there won't be any primaries for the North Country's upcoming congressional election. Incumbent Congresswoman Elise Stefanik will be the Republican nominee. A challenge from Republican Jill Lochner also appears to have fallen short of signatures to get on the ballot. Stefanik's opponent will be Democratic nominee Paula Collins, a cannabis tax attorney who recently bought property in Rensselaer County. Stefanik is one of the most powerful Republicans in the country and has a massive war chest of over $20 million. Independent candidates can start collecting signatures to join the race next week.
A former president of the community college in Plattsburgh died last week. Kara Chapman has more.
Ray DePasquale served as president of Clinton Community College from 2017 to 2021. According to the Plattsburgh Press-Republican, he worked to stabilize the school's finances and oversaw major projects. Those included completion of the college's Institute for Advanced Manufacturing and the renovation of the Moore Academic Building. DePasquale also led the college through the first year of the COVID pandemic. He left CCC to lead another community college in Massachusetts in August 2021. DePasquale told the Press-Republican at the time that he saw community colleges as special places that give every student who wants an education the opportunity for one. He remained president of the Massachusetts College until his death from cancer on April 4th. He was 74 years old. Dr. John Kowal was vice president of academic affairs under DePasquale and succeeded him as Clinton Community's president. He said in a statement that the loss of DePasquale will be deeply felt by the entire campus community. Kowal said, quote, his leadership and compassion left an indelible mark on Clinton Community College. Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio.
The Paul Smith College Vic hosts a science, art, and music festival tomorrow afternoon. The theme will focus on addressing climate change through art. There'll be live music, trivia, an art sale, and special guest speakers. Those will range from poets like Suzanne Rancourt to scientists like Professor Kurt Steger. Former NCPR News Director Martha Foley will MC the event. Together, she and Kurt Steger hosted natural selections on this public radio program for years, answering questions about the natural world. The festival is free, open to the public, and it starts at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
This time of year, there's a lot of snow melting in the Adirondacks and spring rain. All that water fills our rivers and streams with powerful currents. That's what Emily Russell found when she hiked out to a waterfall in the southern Adirondacks this week.
It's sprinkling rain out here on the trail. I'm hiking out to Auger Falls, which is near the town of Wells in Hamilton County. And it's a pretty warm day, so it's kind of nice to be out in the woods despite it being a little bit damp. I really like hiking in the spring. I feel like after a long, cold winter, my eyes catch even the smallest bit of color on the trail. I just noticed these tiny little bright orange, maybe they're mushrooms or little like fungi growing on a broken tree limb. This is a short hike, a little loop through the woods, and I'm moving slowly, giving myself the time to revel in the beauty and the strangeness. This, I don't know what these are called, but they're little, I'm just walking by a really tall tree, and it's got these really thin things growing out of the side, kind of straight at a perpendicular edge. Little mushrooms, I think. They look like, like toenail scales growing out of the side of this tree. Just days before now, the Adirondacks were hit by a spring snowstorm. Most of it has melted around here, fed into the waterways like the Sacandaga River. That's the river that I'm hiking towards. As I'm getting closer to the waterfalls, the smell in the air has changed. It's, I don't know, I guess like kind of soggy but sweet. And I am now hitting just a little patch of ice on the trail. The temperature has definitely dropped. The air turns foggier and foggier. The mist of the falls is seeping into the forest. I come up and over a rise in the trail, and I met with the roar of the river. Wow. You must be able to hear this, just power of water rushing down this river. I mean, everything in the river is white because of all the air moving through it, and it's just pushing up clouds of mist around this forest here. It's just powerful in almost like a sublime way. Emily Russell, North Country Public Radio at Auger Falls near the town of Wells in Hamilton County.
You can find photos from Emily's hike right now at our website, ncpr.org. Oh, my word, Em, I'm looking at your photos. These are so delightful, seeing Dax hopping along with you. Emily, thank you so much for producing that. This is such a treat to get to listen to.
Yeah, it's really one of the joys of the job is getting to go out into the woods and producing stories like that one. And that was, I went out on the hike on Wednesday, and I was on a long day of reporting down in the southern Adirondacks, in and around Northville and Wells. And I collected a few more stories that you'll hear in the coming weeks. But I did stop along the way. And I really do think about our listeners when I'm out in the woods collecting sounds like that and that story. And because I hear all the time from folks who are listening like you right now who say, these kinds of little moments of outdoor joy really matter, and they take you to places maybe you can't get to or you've never been to, or maybe they inspire you to find new hiking trails in the Adirondacks or around the North Country. I really do have our listeners in mind when I'm out in the woods. And I know that matters because it's really like the main thing that I hear from listeners is, I love those audio postcards. So if you love those audio postcards too, go to ncpr.org/give. Pick up the phone. We've got folks waiting to take your calls, 877-388-6277. North Country Public Radio really does value bringing you places that are just magical. And we've got these kinds of places all around the North Country. And it really is my great pleasure to bring you along on hikes like that and share photos and sounds. And it's just so fun. So it's lovely when I hear from folks who say that matters. ncpr.org/give. Tell us what you love about North Country Public Radio. Tell us where you're listening from. Get a great thank you gift. Become a sustaining member of North Country Public Radio to keep these programs on the air. Monica, just how fun was that? That was really fun to listen to with you and all our listeners.
Yes, it absolutely. Well, and I think what I love about it too is also like this is so reflective of everything okay in Saranac Lake. Heard the emergency sound. Yes, but I think one thing I appreciate so much about it is that it's so reflective of just how we spend time. And like how we live our lives here in the North Country, and that is such a meaningful thing that you provide, that each member of the station provides, and to really reflect what's it like to be here and live here. It's so important that this is a station from the community, of the community, representing the community, and we always want to know how to do that better and how to do that well. And it's important that this is here in the North Country. Give now online to support it at ncpr.org/give or call 877-388-6277. Thanks so much.
You're listening to Northern Lights right here on North Country Public Radio. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Coming up in just a minute, music from Ensemble Scholastica performing this weekend in the heart of the Adirondacks. Then stick around after the show for Bird Note coming up at 8:42. First, Todd has a look at the weather for us.
Wind and rain and mild temperatures. Highs in the 60s near 70. Right now in Canton, 65 degrees with partly cloudy skies. The Weather Service says showers, isolated thunderstorms, and some high winds as well at times. Wind gusts out of the southeast up to 40, 50 miles per hour at times this afternoon. Windy tonight as well. And then it's going to cool off. Highs tomorrow in the 40s with a 70% chance of rain and a good chance of showers on Sunday again as well. Highs in the 50s on Sunday. We're going to see temperatures back up to near 60 by Monday and Tuesday of next week. So mild today. Cool tomorrow with wind and rain showers in the forecast today. John Warren has the latest outdoor conditions for the Adirondacks for the weekend.
On Saturday, sunrise in the high peaks will be at about 6:14 and sunset at about 7:38. More rain is expected today, and combined with snowmelt, that will keep rivers and streams high this weekend, especially in the high peaks where deep snow remains at the highest elevations, but also in the southern Adirondacks where more rain is falling. Hikers should avoid trails with difficult water crossings, such as those to Street, Nye, and Allen Mountain, and be prepared with alternative routes in case other crossings are difficult or impassable. Low-lying areas could be flooded this weekend. The Hudson River is nearing 6 feet on the gauge at North Creek, but expected to rise to 7.5 feet there by Saturday afternoon. The Racket River is just under 7 feet at Piercefield and rising. Over on Lake Champlain, the gauge just north of Whitehall is at about 98.5 feet and rising. The flood stage there is 100 feet. On Saturday, mixed precipitation may shift to snow as low as 1,500 feet, and there could be as much as 3 inches of accumulation. Trails are wet and very muddy. Stick to lower elevation and drier trails this weekend. Sunday is looking to be more pleasant. High peak summit temperatures are expected to remain in the 20s through the weekend, with wind chills in the single digits. Saturday will be especially breezy on summits, with winds to 45 miles per hour and snow most of the day. Whiteface and Gore are planning to open this weekend, possibly their last, but that's it for skiing or boarding. Although it can be warm at trailheads, remember that at higher elevations, temperatures remain cold, and even in the 40s, hypothermia can set in quickly at this time of year. Be prepared for winter conditions. And waters remain very cold. People in boats less than 21 feet are required by law to wear a life preserver. Cold water protection will be needed for early season paddlers. And finally this week, take a minute to support this report by contributing to NCPR's Spring Fund Drive. Those are the outdoor conditions in the Adirondacks this weekend. For North Country Public Radio, this is John Warren from the New York Almanac. Online at NewYorkAlmanac.com.